powerful new solutions for your nonprofit organization in the form of 2Dialogue. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have a pretty action-packed session, so I want to get started right away, jump right in. We're going to use our full 60 minutes. We are going to look at the product itself, so if you have a chance to view this in full screen, even better. You can see a little bit more about some of the tools that we're using. If not, I certainly understand how multitasking is important in our busy lives, so just an option. Your microphones are muted, of course. However, this is meant to be an interactive session, and we welcome your questions. If you would submit those using the control panel, I'm saving some time at the end, although we've been running pretty tight in our sessions, so if I can get to it at the end, I absolutely will, and if not, I'll follow up with you afterwards. So a quick agenda. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about 2Dialogue, who we are, how we fit into the nonprofit technology space. You've likely not heard of us before, so I'd like to just kind of give you a point of reference. And then we're going to jump right into the meat of our presentation today, and we're going to talk about online fundraising, how to be successful, some of the basics, and then we're going to talk about how that is a component of multi-channel fundraising. We don't really see those as being separate from each other. And we're going to show you a case study from one of our clients who's been very successful with online their multi-channel strategies, as well as using the 2Dialogue tools. And then we'll go into a demonstration of the tools themselves. I'm not going to get into too much technical. I'm going to just try and keep it as top line as possible, but I'm certainly happy to go into more of the weeds after the session with anyone who's interested. And like I said, I'm going to try and save a few minutes at the end for Q&A. I've been running really tight on time lately, so I'm just going to try and be efficient. All right, just a quick kind of point of reference for those of you who don't know us. We were founded by technology veterans decades ago, actually. We started as an in-house solution for a direct response agency called Stratmark. They're a 30-some-year-old, $40 million direct response agency based in Dallas, and they cater to, their clients are worldwide nonprofit organizations, and essentially what they saw about maybe 10 years ago or more was a need to have a solution that really supported the multi-channel efforts of their clients. At the time, it was really, you kind of just had Convio, Blackbaud, and Conterra, and they felt that those solutions really only supported online efforts, and a nonprofit organization was still doing direct mail, print, media, all those things, and so they really wanted a solution that was going to support more of the multi-channel strategy. And so they developed the solution in-house, and then within the last 5 years, we took it out to market, and before doing so, we surveyed about 50 nonprofit organizations and other direct response agencies, so competitors, to find out what do you want to see in a solution, in an online e-communication solution. What do you want to see? And so that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today, but here are some of the things that we heard, and hopefully it's consistent with some of the things that you're looking for too. But basically, what we heard was we want a solution that's going to support our multi-channel efforts. We don't want everything siloed in different places. We want something that's going to play nice with others. I might have a CRM system over here, and the thought of moving that, gives me heartburn. So I want something that that's going to be able to speak to my CRM, for example. So a technology that will integrate with other solutions. They also wanted something that was easier to use, and they wanted something that was going to be flexible. And that's what we heard a lot from our direct response agency partners. They wanted something, they can build email campaigns and microsites and things like that in Dreamweaver, for example, and they want to be able to just upload it into a system and not have to use an editor and be confined to templates and things like that. So those things, in addition to being less expensive, of course, those are the things that we heard, and that is what we and that's really what we produced, and that's what we're going to show you here today. Essentially, it's a comprehensive set of e-communications tools built on top of a very powerful CRM that can act as a CRM of record or as a data exchange, and I'll talk about how that works. But something that's going to help you be more efficient with your external communications and internally with how you integrate your internal systems. And we have a powerful analytics component that I'm going to show you as we move into the demonstration as well, and why that's so important. So essentially, I think this pictorial kind of epitomizes multi-channel fundraising. As I mentioned, we do not strictly profess online fundraising. We look at fundraising through a multi-channel lens, and these are all the different ways that you can engage with people, with your supporters, to start a relationship. It's not about just pushing information at them. It's about developing a relationship and getting them to do things for you on your behalf, whether it's advocate, give, volunteer, pray, whatever it is. And so this is just kind of a nice view at a glance of all of the different ways that you can engage with your supporters, and we want to show you how hopefully you're doing a number of these and how you can kind of streamline your efforts. So let's go right into improving your online fundraising. So I'm going to start with some of the basics, and looking at the different attendees here today, there's a variety of different nonprofit organizations, size of nonprofit organizations represented, and so some of you, this is, we already know this, and for some of you this is maybe a good review, but it starts with your homepage and your website, because that's your storefront, and it needs to be clean. It needs to be easy to navigate, and if it's not mobile optimized, that needs to be high on your priority list. More and more people are visiting websites online. They're getting their emails on their mobile phones, on their smartphones, and they're going right to, here, click to donate. They need to be able to get to a donation page or a website that's optimized for their mobile phone so they can easily make a donation, and so that you're not losing out on those donations, because that is a trend that's continuing to increase. I looked at some of your websites actually before the session today, and for those of you for whom donations are important, and that's important for many nonprofit organizations, having a donate button that's easy to find and just prominent on your website is critical. And again, many of you know this. Having an easy donation process, critical. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Email is still the #1 way to raise money, so I'm sure that's not surprising for you, but giving people an opportunity to provide you with their email is also very important, so that needs to be part of your website. And then you need to bring those people into your mission, and you need to follow up with them, and not just when you need money. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we move forward as well. So, bringing those people into your mission and running campaigns and integrating online fundraising into all of your campaigns, whether it's a media campaign, it's a direct mail campaign, perhaps you're doing some social media things, your events. You need to be able to tie all of these things together in more of a multi-channel effort, and treat online fundraising campaigns with the same care and planning that you give your major events and your direct mail campaigns. And again, it needs to be a coherent fundraising effort, and never just a standalone email campaign. Relationship emails. One thing that we know is that people want to know what type of impact you're having on their community, and they want to hear how their donations are helping. Because after all, they have an affinity for your mission, but they want to know, how am I helping? So if you can tell them and share with them specifics about how they're helping, that's going to be really important for the relationship that you're building, and that's going to create more of an affinity, and people are going to be more likely to give. And sending gentle reminder appeals is equally important. I mean, I belong to many organizations, and I might get 10 emails, sorry to say, before I actually maybe open one and give a donation. It's just a product of being busy. Our inboxes are overflowing with messages, and so we need to be able to continue that relationship. And because I care about those nonprofit organizations, their emails never bother me. I know it's important. I know their mission is important, and so I welcome those emails, and I will open the ones when I can and I have time and I can, dedicate a little bit of attention to it. Okay, let's get into some of the meat here. I think the best example to talk about the next few steps of improving your online fundraising is public radio or public television. And I think for any of us who listen to those, they have their fund drives, and they do a really great job of goal setting, of creating a sense of urgency, and of telling stories. And those are really important components to your online fundraising. People want to know, how much are you trying to raise? People need deadlines. If I know I need to act by midnight tomorrow, okay, I'm either going to do it or I'm not. If I don't do it this time, I'll catch you next time, and I have a goal. I know I can put this on my calendar. I need to do this by XYZ date. How much do I need to donate? Your $50 or your whatever is critical. In the case, again, of public radio or public television, they always have matching gifts and things like that. Let people know, give them the incentive, whatever it is, let them know, create that sense of urgency, and again, share stories. Share stories about how your mission and how your organization has led to the success of, whether it's, I'll use an example of, let's say you're talking about, we've increased literacy rates in Colorado by XYZ% over the past 10 months through this project. That's awesome, and I want to know that, but maybe if you share a story with me about how you affected Maria, and Maria, who no one in her family has gone to college, and she just got a scholarship. Share stories so it makes it real for people, and they can, again, create more of that relationship, that real, sense of belonging to your mission. And then, leverage the multiple channels. That's going to increase those relationships. So it's not just online. Now you can send them direct mail. Encourage them to follow you on your social media accounts. All of those things are going to help to increase your success. And it's always easier and less time consuming to encourage a current donor to donate again than it is to find and recruit and educate and convert a new donor. So build those email lists, reach out to those people both online and offline, and create that relationship. Send them thank yous, send them stories, send them reminders about your needs, share your challenges with them because they want to help. So this, I probably could have showed you this slide first, but I think this is really kind of helps to give some urgency to what we just talked about. The top reasons that donors give online is convenience and because they received an email request. So, okay, if we make it convenient for them to give and we just send them an email request, we know that they're more likely to give online. So that's good news, and we can do that by, we can look at our website, we can kind of clean things up a little bit, make it easier to navigate, give people opportunities to donate, whether it's through Facebook, our website, create microsites, landing pages, making it really convenient for them to donate. Top reasons that donors do not give online: the giving form is too hard to find. You playing hide and seek with the giving form, you're going to lose their attention, and it's too many steps to make an online donation. And again, these are things that we want to address with the 2Dialogue solutions. Those are very easy to overcome, and so you definitely don't want to be losing donors and lifelong supporters because your giving form is too hard to find, or because it takes too many steps to make an online donation. And I would point out too, again, that's really critical when you're looking at people making donations from their smartphone too. If they have to click too many links and it takes long to download, you're going to lose them. Definitely want to catch them in the moment. So let's talk a little bit about multi-channel success, and those things that we just talked about with respect to online fundraising, really important. Some of it's pretty basic, and you probably knew most of that. But the most valuable donor to a nonprofit is the donor who gives both offline and online. And this next bullet I've bolded because it's really important, and I would like you to think about how it affects your bottom line. If you have people who are just giving through direct mail only, you can increase that average, the average gift by nearly 50% when you're getting them to donate through online and offline channels. So, again, I would encourage you to think about how would that affect your bottom line if you can kind of start to get people paying attention to you and interacting with you through offline and online channels. More than 43% actually of households who donate both online and offline have annual incomes of over $100,000. That's a great profile for a donor. So, but here's the rub. There's always a catch. Online donors tend to be significantly younger, more affluent, more generous than their offline counterparts. However, they typically make a one-time larger donation and then they disappear. And that's the bad news. So, maybe if you do episodic fundraising or really whatever your fundraising model is, and you get those one-time larger donations and then they go away, how can you make sure that you are capturing those people? How can you make sure not to let those people fall through the cracks? Because again, they've already expressed an interest in your mission by giving a donation, a large donation, so how do we keep them in the mix? When you convert an online donor to an offline channel, they tend to give up to 3 times more over the course of time than their offline, those who give through direct mail only. Again, it's a really strong statistic and a real strong argument for using your online capabilities to bring donors in and then converting them to long-term, lifelong givers through both online and offline channels. So some of the key takeaways of what we were talking about up till now is the web updates, of course. Update your website, get it mobile optimized, make sure people can donate, make the donation process easy, and make sure that people can give you their email address so that you can interact with them and adapt the way that you engage with your supporters and use those online methods to attract those younger, more affluent and generous donors and then convert them through offline channels to becoming those long-term supporters that you want and that you need for your organization. And we also encourage you, because we know that it's successful, is to organize your efforts internally. So integration both external with your communications and kind of running those coherent, integrated campaigns, and integration internally, breaking down those silos. If you have your email system over here and you have your database over here and you have your payment gateway over here and perhaps you have advocacy over here and maybe your social media activities are over here, but everything is somewhat disparate, that's where you need to also make some changes, because now you're just stuck creating more manual processes for yourself and a lot of inefficiencies, and it becomes difficult to manage multi-channel campaigns when things internally are not integrated and organized. And that's really what's going to kind of lead us into the next part of the conversation today, where we're going to talk about really just the direct response engagement and how it works externally and how it works internally and how TwoDialogue can help support your efforts, and just something that you should be thinking about as your organization either looks for new e-communication systems or if you're ready to switch or you're thinking about it. Some good things for you to think about and hopefully some good food for thought today. This is how we view the direct response engagement. Step 1, you're going to engage with your constituents. So you see here, it's a 3-step process: the engagement, the conversion, and the cultivation, and that's how we view it. Step 1 is you're engaging with your constituents, whether it's email, television, print, social media, PR, whatever it is, there's an engagement and you've piqued their curiosity. So now you want to drive them to a point of conversion. You want them to take an action. So you're going to send them to a microsite or a website where they can donate, they can register to volunteer, they can advocate, whatever action you want them to take, you want to send them to a conversion point to take that action. Once they've taken that action, you want to cultivate that relationship. You know that they're interested in you and your mission because they've either given or, volunteered or whatever it is. You have to Now the onus is on you to cultivate that relationship. And if you have analytics where you can really look to see what are the things that what actions are people taking, now you can personalize your ongoing outreach depending on what type of actions your constituents have taken. So just as an example, let's say I received an email, and there was a link to, I don't know, pray for children who were affected by a disaster in my community. So I've clicked that link. So now your organization knows that I was interested in that, and that was important to me to help to pray for the children affected by, you know, a disaster. So now you can communicate with me in an ongoing manner with respect specifically to that action that I took, because you know that that's of interest to me. This is how our products, and I know there's a lot going on this slide, so I'm going to try and break it down for you, but this is essentially how our products, if you're thinking, you know, for those of you who are using Convio and Blackbaud and looking at us, I think this is a good kind of overview at how some of our products kind of shape up and how we fit into this three-step engagement process. So for step one, the engagement part, the e-communications and the conversion, and step two, we have our three products: Billboard, which is our e-communications; PeerPoint, which is our peer-to-peer, kind of that individual group and fundraising; and then Box Office is our event management, so where you can you know, create events, registration, promotion, ticket sales, etc. Those three are kind of fit into that step one and step two of our engagement process here. And then I'm going to skip over to Reunion, which is our database of record, or our CRM that can be a database of record, or you can use it in conjunction with this DEXE, which is our data exchange. And that basically allows you to import and export data in and out of your database. So, you know, again, because we had heard and what we know from nonprofit organizations, that if my database is over here and I am not going to move my database, I need to be able to collect information and import and transfer that data in and out of my database of record. And so you would do that through our data exchange engine. And Insight is really just that. It's that end-to-end visibility over everything you're doing. All of your campaigns, all of the actions that your constituents and your donors and your supporters are taking, you can see all of that information, and you can segment that information into specific groups. And we'll talk about how why that's important in a minute. But let me show you, this slide makes it a little bit easier. So, you know, when you're interacting with your prospects and constituents, you're sending emails, you might be doing individual or group fundraising or hosting events, for example, and those are those three products right there. That is that direct interface with your prospects. All that information gets collected and sits within Reunion, the CRM. Insight, again, kind of allows you that overall view over everything, and then if you wanted to exchange that information and transfer that data in and out of your third-party data, or your database, excuse me, then you would do that through our data exchange. So this is kind of that global view of how our products work. Case study. This is my favorite part of the conversation. This is our client, Liberty Institute. They were actually our first client, and back in 2009, Liberty Institute is, their mission is to protect First Amendment rights. Back in 2009, there was a case that came before the Supreme Court by the ACLU, wanted to tear down a cross in the Mojave Desert that had been erected as a tribute to veterans of foreign wars. The cross had been there since 1934, and it was a very high-profile case where before the Supreme Court, and Liberty Institute saw an opportunity to take that, you know, there's this big case before the Supreme Court. It's a high-profile case, and this could bring a lot of attention and shed a lot of light on their mission if they could create awareness about their mission. At the time, their database was about 7,000 people. So, you know, doing an email blast was not going to create the level of interest that they realized that they could generate, given how big this case was. So what they did, and it's not like they had a lot of time to develop a direct mail campaign and kind of execute that. So what they did to start was they created this microsite called don'ttearmedown.org, which is still up today. And in advance of going out into a PR campaign where they were on Fox News, they were also on Oprah, and they ran some ads online on the Drudge Report. But in advance of doing that, they created this microsite, and on this microsite they gave people the opportunity to view interviews with veterans on YouTube, interact with their blog via their blog widget, visit their social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, register for more information, collect email addresses, and of course, donate. So instead of, when they were doing interviews in some of these high-profile media outlets, instead of directing people to libertyinstitute.org, they directed people, because now they've piqued people's interest. People wanted to know, what's going to happen with this cross, and I'm interested in this project, and I want to, regardless of where you fell on the issue, you could go find out more about this specific issue. And if you went to the libertyinstitute.org site, well, you might have to hunt around a little bit for the Don't Tear Me Down project, but if you go to don'ttearmedown.org, you've got all of the information right in front of you, and I can guarantee you they didn't have a very high bounce rate off of their homepage. So they were able to get some serious success with this project. Now, of course, it helps that they were on Fox News and Oprah, but in addition to getting that type of exposure, they drove people to one central conversion point, which was this microsite. Over a 12-month period, they grew their list from 7,000 to 150,000 names. That's a lot of names in just 1 year. They increased their donations from 15,000 to 1.1 million. And that was probably over between 2 and 3 years. And they grew their Facebook fans from 0 to, they're over 35,000 now. I haven't actually updated that statistic in a while. But, it really revolutionized the face of their organization. And again, it was being smart with their online. And then after they brought people into their mission, they interacted with them through direct mail and other offline efforts, and they continue to have a great deal of success with the relationships that they've built over the past few years. Just a great story. Really happy to be able to tell it. And feel free to visit the website or the microsite and see what you think about it as well. All right, so we're going to get into a little bit of a product demonstration to show you how easy it is to use, and there's some really cool stuff, and I'm going to try not to get into the weeds too much, but some benefits and advantages that I'd like you to look at and think about as you're looking at the demonstration. I'm going to show you that we give you the ability to craft and send emails, microsites, landing pages, donation pages, as well as then accept and track transactions, registrations, donations, e-commerce. You can deploy surveys. You can even plug a survey widget into your email. We're not going to show you that today, but that is one of the things we can do. Individual fundraising, events, ticketing, and registration. We have mobile integrations. Our emails and our microsites are mobile optimized. The product can be completely white labeled, so it doesn't have to be powered by 2Dialog. It doesn't have to look anything like, it can look exactly like every other campaign that you've done. If you have campaigns that you really like and you don't want to change the look of it, you can build it somewhere else and just upload it into our system. We have a product called Dynamic Gift Array, and we do split packages. This is awesome, and I'm not going to be able to spend a ton of time on it, but I just want to share with you briefly what it does is Dynamic Gift Array. So if you send an appeal and I give $100 and John Smith gives $1,000, the next time we receive an appeal, I might receive gift amounts of $50, $75, and $100. John Smith is going to receive gift amounts of $250, $500, and $750, or however you want to set that up in any quantities you want. But the idea is, based on someone's giving history, they're going to get appeals that cater to that amount that they give. So the person you don't have a relationship is still going to get that $10, $30, $50 option, but now you're being smarter about getting those folks who already have an affinity for you and are donating to you in larger amounts. You're going to give them the opportunity to continue to donate in those larger amounts. Split packages, if you're doing like maybe A/B testing and you want to see how your different packages are comparing to each other, you can do that through our system as well. We have a little bit of a CMS editor, and I'm going to show you that briefly. We're integrated with 5 different payment gateways, including PayPal, Chase Payment Tech, paperless transactions, BeanStream, and a couple others. We have in an integration with Litmus, which allows you to preview what your email is going to look like in 32 different email previews before you send it, and that includes what it's going to look like on an iPhone, an iPad, an Android, a BlackBerry, Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, etc. Advocacy, we have an integration with CapWiz, which is the pioneer in advocacy, so if that's something of interest to you, by all means let me know. We have a great integration with them. We have an integration with some CRM partners as well, and one that's come up quite a bit lately is Affiniquest. If you are a nonprofit organization that's looking at Salesforce as a CRM, Affiniquest is built on top of Salesforce exclusively for nonprofit organizations. It's very robust and also very inexpensive. And we have an integration with them, and that's just a great solution. We're really excited about that partnership and our clients that we share. We also give you the opportunity to segment people based on the actions that they take, and I'm going to show you that because that's really awesome, and that's another point of difference which is going to allow you to develop a more advanced relationship with your donor and with your constituent. We have very robust tracking. You can apply Google Analytics down to the line item of our microsites. And maybe I should have said this first, but we embrace integration. So, our thought is we'd like to offer our clients a best-of-breed solution. We have a number of integrations that allow us to be able to do that, and we also play nicely with other technologies so that at the end of the day, as a nonprofit, you're breaking down the silos of using disparate technologies and having more of a coherent integrated system to be more efficient with your outreach. Oh, just to kind of, another point of reference of who we are. We work with global nonprofits down to, soup kitchens and a number of different agency partners as well. And up top you can see Russ Reed. They're actually the largest direct response agency in the world, catering exclusively to nonprofit organizations, and they use us for their clients. So this is just a little pictorial of some of our clients. We have hundreds of clients, but these are just some that are pretty cool. USA Shooting, they won a gold at the Olympics. Okay, product demonstration. Let me get into that top line as possible. As I go into the product, I'm really just going to show you the Billboard application today, which is our e-communications tool to help you with your online fundraising. So all of your photos, videos, graphics, images, forms. We have about 3 dozen container forms or donation forms that we give clients access to. All of that stuff is accessed in our control center. It's all organized in one central location. And speaking of forms, you can take those forms and you can either, you can hijack a form, iframe a form, we can host it, you can host it, you can take the code and plug it into your Facebook. We have an integration with Facebook, so if you wanted to collect donations on your Facebook account, by all means, our goal is to get you to be successful. We do also, just to note, when I mentioned the Facebook integration, it makes me think about, a nonprofit that at 10 o'clock at night before a Saturday event wants to put a form on their Facebook page, let's say. You can go into our library and you can access a video, a how-to video, like a 15-minute video that shows you exactly how to do that. We have dozens of videos that show you, if you're stuck and you need some help with creating an email or whatever help you need, you can access our videos and that'll walk you through the process 24 hours a day. All right, so a couple of things I want to point out here. What we hope that you see is that everything is very user-friendly and easy to use. What we have here, if you're looking at these 5 boxes, we have a package list, a message, an action, which is going to be a microsite or a landing page, and then we have a package, which is basically your list connected to your message, connected to your action page. You put those together, you create a package, and you send that package, and once that package is sent, you can now look to see how well that package has performed. So let's just briefly run through this. How am I doing on time here? And these are all of the lists that I've created using this account. So if I go in and a couple things that I want to point out to you. The list is who you're going to be emailed from your CRM or our CRM, which is previous mailing. So here you have this dashboard view is going to be repeated in the list, the message, the action, and the package. And then this is where you're actually putting the list together. You're going to put the list together by including groups or excluding groups. So in this case, if I wanted to include some specific groups or I wanted to exclude some, now that's either I excluded them or they've been part of the opt-out. Opt-outs are always going to be part of your exclude groups. So I have a net of 22 people in this list that I'm going to be targeting. Now realistically in your list it's probably going to be 22,000 or 2 million or some other large number. I can look to see, has this list been linked to a package before? Because remember, when we put all of that together and send our e-blast out, that's a package. I can look to see, has this list been linked to another package, and I can click that package to see how well it's performed. We have an activity log if you have multiple you will have taken. So that is your list. Again, it's comprised of groups. Just to give you an example, and I wanted to do a mailing for all donors 200 and higher within a 30-mile radius of LA, and I include those groups, and maybe I want to exclude my board members because I'm going to have a very special separate event for them. So I would just exclude them out of my list. All right, so moving on to, before I do, again, you have that same view at a glance. Here's the name of you. This is our litmus functionality. So this is where you can look to see what is my message going to look like in 32 different email previews from, again, out, etc. Preview what this email, this is what this email looks like. This is the email that I've created in my fictitious Helping Hands account, and this is what we're going to be sending out today, just so we can walk through the process. All right, so just to briefly show you the editor, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but via paragraph, you can change the font size, make it bold, change the color, italics, all that kind of stuff. You can also cut, copy, and paste. And then, as I had mentioned before, you can also access the source code because it's completely white labeled. We give you access to everything. So if you want to go in, this kind of makes my head spin, but if you want to go in and work in the code, you're welcome to do that. Or really quick, you see here we've got these little folders here. They don't go anywhere yet. They don't go to a website. They're just placeholders, and I'm gonna decide where they go in the next step. All right, so that is basically what I want to show you there. I'm not going to save my changes, but that's a message. The editor is really easy to use. And then we have an action, and again, an action is either a microsite, created it, this one has some reference codes assigned to it, is the best practice. So we encourage you to keep that in mind when you're adding pages to your microsite and activity log. So let's just preview this particular page. Our creative isn't great this of a microsite, and you can plug all of your social media icons in there, always giving people the opportunity to donate, take an action. We'll briefly go in, my bad. Sorry guys. I'm going to go back into, that was a donation page, which is now you can add forms, commerce, advocacy, widgets, videos, tables, things that you might not be able to do in an email, you can now do within the microsite technology. Okay, so let's click out of there. So let's go into a package and see if I can, Johnny, and package that I send out. So I'm going to select, I'm going to send to, because that is exactly the people I want to reach with this particular message. And then I'm going to select a message. I think we looked at this one. So that's great. And then you see that the message, this link is going to go to this microsite. All of these links are going to go to this microsite. So now link directly to my mission trip microsite. And since it's a survey, I'm going to have select all of the pages that where you want these specific links to go to. Okay, schedule it. I always send a test message first to try and make sure I didn't mess anything up, and I still do once in a while, but I think hopefully that's just a human thing, but it's always good to send a test message first, check all your links, etc. And I'm actually going to pretend that I sent that email out, So now I'm going to pretend that I just received this email by clicking me to a donation page. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and make a $60 donation, and bear with me. It's going to come to my email address, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to submit. Okay, so now that message is going to come into my inbox. That's a message for our payment gateway not to charge us for $60. That shows me that I made a $60 donation, and I can print that. Oh, and I also Gmail. This I also created into Dialog. That'll show up for donation receipt that I can also print. And it took me to a donation page. I made a $60 donation. I received a thank you email, and with an attached donation receipt. Okay, great. Now let's look at the performance, and let's see how our campaign is strong. And they really, they give you a lot of glass. I can see exactly who opened my email, or I can just put those people right into a response group, because remember, groups make up a list. So these are my unique confirmed opens, and I can either create a response group with those people that we just looked at, or I can add them to one of my existing groups, or I can export them to a CSV file. Okay, so you have that opportunity to do that. This is an image of my email as soon as it pops up for y'all. Pardon the delays. Okay, this is an email. This is the email that we sent, and I've got a list here of all the links. So if I click on one of the links, so let's say I'm going to click on this one, or maybe this, clicked on the links, I can look to see which links you clicked on, and I can put you into a specific response group. And this is really helpful because, you know, your constituents are interacting with you, and when they're clicking on specific links within your message, they're letting you know what areas of your mission they're interested in, and so now you have that intelligence to be able to reach out to them specific to their area of interest. Okay, so when you send out your emails, and you send out thousands of emails, you're going to see these numbers in the hundreds and the thousands of people that are clicking on links within your message, and you're going to be able to put those people into specific response groups. One thing to point out, you can click just shows you how your email has performed amongst different domains. And again, this is cool. You know, let's say there's a company, and a number of people from a specific company accepted your emails or opened your emails, and you can look again, click the magnifying glass to look to see who those people are, and again you can put those people into a specific response group, and maybe you want to reach out to them and host a special event at their company. Just an example. Failure analysis, you know, the real story here, this is hard bounces and soft bounces, but the real story is 25, and they make sure our emails get sent. We have clients who send several thousand emails a month. We have clients who send several, and port 25, if you, I'm sorry, that's port 25, and then return path, if you've heard of them, they make sure our emails get delivered into inboxes. Deliverability is kind of a science, and we work very hard at it. We try to just keep our IPs warm and work with you. We require clean lists. However, we will never shut you down, and we always work with you to make sure that you are able to keep your lists clean. Okay, transactions. These last two tabs are the most important, and I want to spend a little bit of time on I'd like. And if a gift was declined, I can see who those people were, and I can follow up with them separately. If I've assigned reference codes to my package, I can look to see how have those reference codes performed, and that's really useful if, you know, you're trying different reference codes, you're trying different things, and you want to see how has that performed. Maybe you're doing some A/B split testing with different packages. All of that data is available here. You have a state breakdown. You can look to see how successful was your campaign in different states. That, you know, depends. Donor here who gave $210, I can look to see who that donor was, and again, I can put them into a response group. I'm probably going to want to reach out to them personally to thank them for that donation. And I can look to see how all of these other, who these people are that have made these other donations as well. And I can hit refresh to update. And this is where, okay, we're going to select some metrics. So I would like to know how many emails were accepted, how many emails. See, okay, let's say I've done a couple of appeals and I've changed it up a little bit, so I just want to see how have those different packages performed against each other. All right, so let's just pick how these different packages have performed against each other, and I can, if my campaigns are still going on, I can refresh that data and it's going to an Excel spreadsheet, and now I can create apps for my annual report. All of that information is now available to me. I can change, maybe I've got, I want to change out some campaigns, and I think, the best part really is the segmenting and being able to put people into specific groups so that you can continue the dialogue with them based on their area of interest as they've expressed to you by the actions that they've taken on your emails. Run out of time for some of the questions that came in, and I know a couple of questions came in about pricing, and I'm not going to get into pricing today. However, I will tell you that we're based our pricing is based on kind of like a cell phone plan, so it's based on usage. For the e-communications, when you go 0 to 10,000 emails a month, that's a specific rate. 10,000 to 50,000 emails a month is a specific rate. 50,000 to 150,000, and it continues to go up from there. We do not charge transaction fees, and we of course have set up fees, but basically we're very competitively priced, especially if you're comparing us to solutions like Convio and Blackbaud. You're going to find that we're much less expensive. I wanted to, before ending, I wanted to show you a couple of things, a couple of what our clients are doing. And this one I'm going to show you. This is one of our clients, and what's cool about this is, let me get through this, try and spell everything right. When I click to sign here as I'd like, and I can add children, I can add guests, I can add a discovery passport, all the total amount, all of that gets auto credit card information, and do all of this with one single submit button. When I mentioned before that we have like 3 dozen container forms, donation forms, we give you a lot of options, a lot of who we have subtle differences, and it's actually hosted. I forgot to mention that with the packages. You can set up a package. If you're familiar with like a welcome series or a drip campaign, you can set that up as well, or it can be a one package. I'm viewing this as a web page, but imagine this coming up in your email. Instead of having this be, view as a web page, which is traditionally where people put that link, view as a web page up here, this is a great place to ask for people to make a donation. And then when you go back into Billboard and you go into your click performance, real quick, to try putting a call to action link up there. And again, which you can be smarter with your outreach moving forward. And I've gone a minute over, and I apologize because I want to be respectful of your time. I did see some questions come in, and I will follow up with you afterwards to answer those questions. I'll follow up with each of you. I hope that you saw some robust technology here, and that you saw a lot in the form of email, CMS, e-commerce, transactions, segmentation, all of that in one, basically one product. Online fundraising and multi-channel can be